mention wedding ring like it's a bad thing. Your father walked away at 5, hell of a dad thing.
It's just the information was too shocking. It was, like I said, on his part, it was a genius chess move.
It started like any other rap beef, a few slick bars, a few clever jabs. But this one turned into something else entirely.
You are hiding a child, let that boy come home.
By the time it was over, Drake, the most untouchable rapper in the world, had been exposed in front of millions. PushaT didn't just beat him, he dissected him. This wasn't random. It was years in the making, from a quiet grudge born in the shadows of Cash Money, unpaid debts, and stolen style.
Ice cream sneakers, I signed my first skater.
So, when Pusha finally struck, he didn't aim for the charts. He aimed for Drake's image, and he hit dead center. This is how PushaT showed Drake not to mess with him.
Bro, we just had a battle, bro. And you came up on the short end of the stick of it. That was it. That was it.
Let's talk about it. For a while, Drake admired PushaT. Like many young rappers, he studied him, the precision in his flow, the way he painted the streets in pure cinematic detail. Before the internet crowned him the sixth god, Drake was still the student watching men like Pusha carve out entire subgenres of rap with surgical precision. But back then, in the early 2000s, PushaT was one half of Clipse, alongside his brother, No Malice. Together, they ruled the coke rap scene with crisp verses, icy Neptune's production, and a sound that was clean but dangerous. Their breakout hit, Grindin', was the anthem of a generation of hustlers. It made them icons.
I'm the neighborhood pusher, call me subwoofer.
It also made their producers, the Neptunes, Pharrell Williams, and Chad Hugo, some of the most sought-after hitmakers in the world. So when Birdman, the head of Cash Money Records, reached out in 2002 for a collab called What Happened to That Boy, it seemed like a dream match. Everyone expected magic, and they got it. The record was cold.
What happened to that boy?
But behind the scenes, something went wrong. According to Hot 97's Ebro Darden, the Neptunes were never paid for that beat. No check, no closure. And for Pharrell, that wasn't just bad business, it was betrayal. He reportedly vowed never to work with Cash Money again. It was a small slight that turned into a wound. Because if there's one thing people underestimated about PushaT, it's that he remembers everything, every unpaid debt, every borrowed flow, every stolen piece of credit. He was watching. He just waited for his moment. By 2006, that moment came. Lil Wayne, Cash Money's rising star and Drake's future mentor, appeared on the Vibe magazine cover wearing Bape, the Japanese streetwear brand that Pharrell and Clipse had helped popularize through their Billionaire Boys Club movement. For Pharrell and Pusha, that fashion was identity. So when Wayne started showing up in Bape hoodies and referencing the style in his music, Clipse fired back with Mr. Me Too, a Neptunes-produced track dripping with sarcasm and coded anger.
Dude like Snoop say, step your game up. Double-decker boat, Mediterranean up.
Wayne didn't take it lightly. In a 2006 interview with Complex, he fired back with venom. I don't see no f***ing Clipse. They had to do a song with us to get hot. That was it. The line was drawn. What started as a money dispute had evolved into something bigger. Pride, culture, and the right to call oneself original. But beneath that, something else was brewing. Because while Wayne was defending his empire, his protege, a young artist from Toronto, was quietly studying every move. Though Drake admired Pusha, he idolized Wayne. Wayne was the one that gave him his shot, so he was loyal. But that loyalty came with baggage. By joining Young Money, Drake didn't just inherit Wayne's blessing, he inherited his enemies. So when Drake began making waves in 2011, that old grudge found new life. It started subtly. In May of that year, on a song called Dreams Money Can Buy. Drake didn't name names, but his bars were clear enough to those paying attention. He rapped about favorite rappers either losing it or not alive, and about someone going at Wayne and Birdman.
My favorite rappers either lost it or they ain't alive.
It was Drake's way of saying, I see you, PushaT, and I'm riding for my team. Pusha caught it immediately. He always does. And he didn't let it slide. 4 months later, he responded on the same beat with a record called Don't With Me. But unlike Drake's polished sneak disses, Pusha's was surgical, cold, deliberate, and packed with layered shots. He accused Drake of stealing lyrics, of borrowing styles, of using ghostwriters long before the Meek Mill scandal ever happened. Rappers on their sophomores thinking they boss lords, he rapped. a jab at Drake's upcoming Take Care album. It was more than a diss, it was prophecy.
Rappers on they sophomores acting like they boss lords.
He mocked Drake's fashion sense. The torque don't match the leather, the swag don't match the sweaters, referencing the awkward granddad sweater Drake wore to the 2011 VMAs. But the real explosion came in 2012, when PushaT dropped Exodus 23:1. That was the moment everything spilled into daylight. No names were mentioned, but the message was unmistakable.
You sign to one, then sign to another, then sign to three. Now that's bad luck.
It was an exposed nerve in a single bar. Pusha was pulling the curtain back on the Cash Money empire, suggesting that Wayne and Drake weren't just label mates, they were pawns in a bigger machine. When Wayne heard it, the response was instant and emotional. He jumped on Twitter, PushaT and anybody that loves him. No subtleties, no metaphors, just rage in 140 characters. A diss track followed. Raw, rushed, and forgettable. Even Pusha himself laughed it off later, calling it trash. He said he didn't even think it was worth responding to.
So when you heard, what was your opinion of Wayne's response?
That was horrible. It was horrible. It was trash.
But the shot had already done its damage. The bridge between GOOD music and Cash Money was officially burned. Behind the bars, though, there was something bigger at play. Pusha wasn't just clowning Wayne, he was pointing to a deeper problem inside Cash Money, the business. Wayne had spent years feeding Birdman's empire, only to find himself trapped in contracts that limited his freedom and profits. When Pusha called it bad luck, he was really talking about exploitation, the kind that's dressed up as loyalty. Years later, Rick Ross would echo the same sentiment in Idols Become Rivals, publicly calling out Birdman for doing Wayne dirty.
I pray you find the kindness in your heart for Wayne. His entire life, he gave you what there was to gain.
But Pusha said it first, and maybe that's why his words aged so well. When Wayne's Carter 5 got delayed, when his lawsuit against Birdman dragged on, when fans started realizing the cracks in the facade, that Exodus line hit harder than ever. Pusha looked prophetic. He'd seen through the gloss long before anyone else dared to. Still, it's important to remember, Wayne wasn't just a victim here. He was also fiercely proud, and at the time, Cash Money was family. For him, Pusha's record wasn't about contracts, it was disrespect. To question Birdman was to question his entire identity. So when he lashed out, it wasn't about lyrics, it was about betrayal. From the outside, fans thought it was over after Exodus. But inside the industry, the silence was loaded. Everyone knew this wasn't finished. Not when both sides had proteges waiting in the wings. Not when Drake was watching, listening, and learning what loyalty really costs in this business. By 2015, the air between Drake and PushaT was thick with silence, the kind that hums before a storm. Both men had learned from the last round. Pusha wasn't going to waste energy trading cheap shots, and Drake wasn't about to give him free publicity. What came next wasn't loud, it was colder than that. Drake was at the top of the game. If you're reading this, it's too late, had broken streaming records, and Hotline Bling made him a pop phenomenon. Meanwhile, Pusha had become president of GOOD Music, sharpening his persona as the meticulous craftsman, the street poet who refused to bow to industry trends. From the outside, they lived in separate worlds. But in hip-hop, quiet doesn't mean peace, it means precision. That's when Pusha dropped HGTV in 2016. It didn't mention Drake by name, but it didn't need to. His tone was surgical, almost calm.
The bar's been lowered, the wells run dry. They beefing over melodies, but no, not I.
It was a slick jab at ghostwriting, at the idea of influence being bought and sold. Everyone knew who he was talking about. It wasn't just a diss. It was a thesis on authenticity. Then came Infrared in 2018, which tied the thread neatly.
It was written like Nas, but it came from Quentin.
A line so simple yet devastating. In just one bar, PushaT revived the ghostwriting allegations that had haunted Drake since Meek Mill's Twitter meltdown in 2015. The irony was sharp. Years earlier, Pusha had accused Drake of stealing lyrics. Now, he accused him of not writing any at all. But this wasn't random. Pusha had been studying Drake's every move since Tuscan Leather, every subliminal, every metaphor. He waited years to strike. Not when when Drake was weak, but when he was invincible. That's how Pusha worked. He didn't swing wildly, he set traps. Drake took the bait. Within hours of infrared dropping, he fired back with duppy freestyle. He mocked Pusha's drug tales, calling him a fraud.
Man, you might have sold to college kids for Nike and Mercedes, but you act like you sold drugs for Escobar in the 80s.
Drake sounded focused, confident, even annoyed that he had to step down from his throne to respond.
I really shouldn't have given you none of my time, cause you older than a nigga you running behind.
That line hit hard. It was a direct shot at Kanye West, Pusha's label head, who had long faced rumors about not writing his own material either. It was a clever reversal. Drake wasn't denying the ghostwriting claims, he was reframing them. If collaboration made him fake, then what did that make Kanye? And by extension, what did that make Pusha? The rest of the record kept cutting. Drake mocked Pusha's street stories, called him irrelevant. And then came the pettiness, Drake's specialty. He didn't just rap, he billed them. On Instagram, he posted an actual invoice addressed to GOOD Music and Def Jam for $100,000, citing promotional assistance and career reviving. It was the ultimate troll move, half diss, half marketing stunt. Within minutes, Duppy Freestyle was trending worldwide. Twitter timelines turned into think pieces. Memes flooded every feed. Pusha responded coolly on Twitter, "Send the invoice for the extra 20. The hip-hop world exploded. It felt like the Meek Mill saga all over again. Drake, the pop rap juggernaut, swatting away another challenger with charm, speed, and lyrical precision. Commentators and fans were quick to declare a winner. Drake had done what Drake does best: reclaim control through confidence. Even industry veterans like Ebro and Charlemagne commented that Pusha had provoked a monster. For a moment, it seemed like Drake had flipped the narrative, that Pusha was outdated, outgunned, and outpaced. Duppy Freestyle was everything the industry expected from Drake. Catchy enough for casual fans, sharp enough for hip-hop heads, and meme-ready for social media. But beneath the surface, there was something different this time. Pusha had learned from the chaos of the 2012 to 2016 exchanges, from Exodus 23:1 to HGTV Freestyle to Two Birds, One Stone. Every time Drake responded quickly, the internet crowned him the victor. Every time Pusha stayed quiet, the noise died down until he came back with something heavier. And now, he was holding his deadliest card yet. On May 29, 2018, only 4 days after Drake dropped Duppy Freestyle, everyone expected a lyrical rebuttal, something technical, maybe a few clever punchlines from Pusha. But this was something else. PushaT didn't just respond, he detonated a truth bomb that would echo through hip-hop for years. The story of Adidon wasn't a song, it was a revelation.
Your music for the past few years been angry and full of lies.
Before a single bar even played, the cover art told a story of its own. It was a photograph of Drake in blackface. No filters, no edits. It was just Drake, smiling awkwardly, paint smeared across his face, wearing a Jim Crow couture shirt. Pusha posted it without comment. He didn't need to explain. That single image broke the internet before anyone even pressed play. People rushed to figure out if it was fake. It wasn't. The photographer, David Leyes, confirmed it came from a 2007 photo shoot for a Canadian fashion label called Two Black Guys. Drake later tried to explain on Instagram that it was meant to highlight how black actors were stereotyped in media. But explanations don't go viral, pictures do. And this one was lethal. When the track started playing, the air changed. Pusha had repurposed Jay-Z's The Story of OJ, the same song about racial identity and exploitation, and used its slow, eerie instrumental as the backdrop for a dissection of Drake's life. Producer No ID later revealed he told Pusha not to use that beat.
Love that baby, respect that girl, forget she's a porn star, let her be your world.
Pusha ignored him because he wasn't making a song, he was staging a public execution. Now, the line came.
You are hiding a child, let that boy come home, deadbeat playing border patrol.
That was the bombshell. Drake had a secret son named Adonis, with Sophie Brousseau, a French former adult film star. The revelation hit harder than any diss could. It wasn't just gossip, it was confirmation of a rumor no one believed. Drake, the polished, image-conscious superstar who built his brand on relatability and fatherly warmth, had a child he'd never acknowledged publicly. And the twist? According to Pusha, Drake was planning to reveal his son as part of a marketing rollout for his upcoming Adidas line, titled Adidon, a blend of Adidas and Adonis. So when Pusha said Adidon, he wasn't guessing. He was leaking Drake's business plans before Drake could. Within hours, social media was in chaos. Twitter timelines flooded with memes, disbelief, and the same stunned question, is this real? It was. Sophie's old tweets surfaced. One from late 2017 read, Drake, deadbeat dad. Suddenly, Pusha's claims weren't just believable, they were confirmed. Overnight, Drake, one of the most meticulously managed artists in the world, looked human in the worst possible way. And that was only the beginning. In the next verse, Pusha went deeper. He dragged Drake's parents into the crossfire. His father, Dennis Graham, who he accused of abandoning Drake at 5. His mother, Sandy, for never marrying.
Your father walked away at 5, hell of a dad thing. Marriage is something that Sandy never had, Drake.
The shots weren't random. They were surgical incisions into the family narratives Drake had built his career on. He'd always painted his mother as the heart of his story, his father as the flawed but lovable figure. Pusha flipped that script into generational dysfunction. But then came the bar that made even hardened rap fans flinch.
OVO 40, hunched over like he 80. Tick, tick, tick. How much time he got, that man is 666.
Drake's longtime producer and best friend, Noah 40 Shabib, had been battling multiple sclerosis for years. The next day, almost poetically, was World MS Day. 40's only public response was a quiet tweet linking to the awareness campaign. He later admitted in Rolling Stone that it made him feel terrible, but that he used it to bring attention to MS awareness. Even people who weren't Drake fans winced at that line. It was cold-blooded. Drake's camp went silent. The internet turned into a war zone. Some said Pusha went too far. Others said, all's fair in rap beef. But everyone agreed, this was the most devastating diss track in years. Even the media couldn't look away. The Breakfast Club dedicated entire segments to dissecting it. Charlemagne called it a masterclass in war strategy. On social media, celebrities and fans picked sides like it was a national election. Meanwhile, Pusha was calm. He went on the Joe Budden podcast and dismantled some rumors. No, Kanye didn't tell him about Drake's son. The information came from Drake's own inner circle, from 40, who'd confided in a woman he was seeing. And that woman told Pusha.
She knew all of this. She divulged all of this information. I didn't get it from him or them. That's all it was.
Pillow talk kills everybody, Pusha said, almost amused. That one sentence changed how people saw the whole thing. This wasn't a setup. It wasn't an industry leak. It was friendly fire. Drake's own circle had handed Pusha the ammunition. The silence that followed the story of Adidon said everything. For once, Drake, hip-hop's most reliable comeback machine, didn't fire back. That's when Jay Prince came in. On Sway in the Morning, the legendary Rap-A-Lot CEO made it official. Drake had been told to stand down. According to Prince, he'd spoken with Kanye, weighed the situation, and realized the next move could destroy careers. It would have gone beyond music, he said. It would have hurt families.
I spoke with Drake, you know what I mean? I made OG call to Drake this morning, telling him, I don't want you to respond to this. You know what I mean? We're gonna put this to bed.
That statement changed everything. Suddenly, the conversation wasn't about who had the better bars, it was about who walked away and why. Some fans called it wisdom, others called it surrender. But either way, Drake's silence became the story. When Scorpion dropped a month later, the mystery was over. Drake didn't deny anything, he confirmed it all. On Emotionless, he rapped, I wasn't hiding my kid from the world, I was hiding the world from my kid.
I wasn't hiding my kid from the world, I was hiding the world from my kid.
Then, in March 14th, he wrote a confessional letter to his son, full of regret and vulnerability. It was raw, almost uncomfortable. Lines like, single father, I hate when I hear it, hit harder now that everyone knew the backstory. Drake turned the wound into music, and somehow, into empathy. But it didn't erase what had happened. In the public eye, PushaT had already won. Months passed before Drake finally spoke about it on camera. Sitting across from LeBron James on The Shop, he admitted the truth. There was no anger in his voice, just resignation. He called it his first loss in rap, not because he was outbarred, but because he chose not to play.
Drake has a baby. He won. You know, he won off that off that bomb. You know?
It was Drake being honest and strategic. He wanted to reframe the loss as maturity, but to the culture, the contrast was too sharp to ignore. Pusha looked like the cold tactician, calm, deliberate, unmoved by celebrity power. Drake, meanwhile, looked human. For an artist built on confidence and control, that vulnerability was jarring. Even years later, you can still feel the aftershocks of that diss track. Every time a rapper drops a diss today, people ask, is it as personal as Adidon? That's the legacy. Because that moment wasn't just a clash between two artists. It was the day the biggest pop rap star on the planet met the calmest killer in hip-hop and learned that silence sometimes is the loudest sound of all.